All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this November 20th meeting of the Somerville School Committee. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the school committee will be conducted via hybrid participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville website and local cable access government channels. We will start with a moment of silence and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Superintendent, will you call the roll, please?
Thank you. Good evening. We're going to do the roll call. Dr. Ackman.
Here.
Mayor Ballantyne. Ms. Piton.
Present.
Mr. Green. Ms. Dion.
Here.
Ms. Barish.
Present.
President Owen Campen. Dr. Phillips.
Here.
Ms. Kripchen.
Here.
We have quorum.
And then I will go ahead and introduce our interpreters. Spanish, if you are here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Portuguese interpreter, if you are able.
Yes, this is Ben Cruz, so I'll be your Portuguese interpreter for this evening.
Okay. We will come back to our interpreters when they're able. Which brings us to public comment. We have 2 public commenters this evening. First, Rami Bridge, and then Jamal Halawa. Oh, 3 minutes. Thank you. Oh, wait. Okay.
You don't have to read the thing.
I forgot the thing. Hold, please. You'd think I could find this easily. My apologies. I usually have it printed out, and I forgot to bring it.
It's all good.
What'd you say? I know. I don't know it by heart, and I'm having trouble finding it.
Am I allowed to say that I'm familiar with the policy and can waive it?
Yes,
Okay.
let's do it.
Sounds good. Good evening. For the first time in a long time, I'm speaking here as an individual on behalf of myself and no one else. I am here imploring you and our district leadership to lead. I have always been proud of the way our district leadership and school committee has leaned into aspiring to be anti-racist. As many districts have been embroiled in fights about critical race theory and banning books, SPS has always been exceptionally clear about what our values are and how we enact them in the classroom. During momentous events, district leadership would email statements assuring educators that it is our job to engage with these topics. These statements are not empty platitudes. They empower and encourage educators to tackle complex and fraught topics, and have been backed up with concrete support such as equity coaches, academic resources, and professional development opportunities. I am here telling you that educators need that same level of support right now. As a first-year social studies teacher, the last 6 weeks have presented me with my first moment of history happening in real time. I keep waiting for the Somerville Public Schools to make a statement about teaching students and engaging with controversy, and I'm continuously disappointed. In September of 2020, Superintendent Skipper wrote, "As members of a community, we must be willing to stand up and acknowledge injustices, whether they are happening in our own backyard or elsewhere. In our schools and in our communities, this is urgent and necessary work that we must be and are committed to doing." Instead of living up to those words, Mayor Ballantyne and Superintendent Carmona emailed on October 10th about the horrific attacks in Israel and have said nothing since. Are the horrific attacks in Gaza not worthy of an email? Are their hearts and thoughts not with those impacted by these events? What message does this silence send to our Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab staff, students, and families? This one-sided response sends a clear message to educators. A nuanced discussion of Israel and the occupation of Palestinians remains a third rail. The risk to educators is not abstract. Censorship on college campuses and workplaces has been rampant, and in a neighboring school district, educators have been put on leave for their social media posts. The district's silence sends a signal to educators that the administration does not have their back on this issue. The only other email sent to the district came from the Director of Equity and Excellence with the generic resources about conflict and war. These non-specific resources are not good enough. The fact that since then our Director of Equity and Excellence has sent both an October and November newsletter with 0 mentions of the ongoing violence in Gaza is professional negligence. This silence from district leadership is not good enough. So I'm here today imploring you to lead. I understand for you all, there is concern about getting it wrong and value in taking your time and to get it right so that you can avoid blowback. But it's been 6 weeks and it is coming up in our classrooms. Our students see the news and are trying to make sense of it. Some of their families are impacted. So while our elected and district leaders may have the privilege to not engage this politically fraught topic, educators do not. It was immediately clear to me that my students had so many questions about what was happening in Israel and Gaza and so little prior knowledge that I was going to have to teach them basically everything. So I created and taught a new unit about the history of Israel and Palestine to both my 7th and 8th graders. I was able to make it up on the fly because of my
Time is up.
prior knowledge on this topic. That is not true of most other teachers in the district.
Okay.
I also happen to be well
Thank you.
positioned as a Jewish
Time is up.
person who does not fear being accused of anti-Semitism. Finally, I am uniquely empowered to do this because of my professional status and knowledge of the academic freedom language in our contract. It shouldn't require this teachers feel safe enough to teach current events. My students, hopefully, now have enough information to have a basic understanding of what is happening in Israel and Palestine. Providing students with the context and critical thinking skills is arguably the most important thing we do in schools. But what about all the other students in the district? This past week, a teacher asked for help in professional development and was basically given a shrug. That is unacceptable.
Okay, thank you. Your time is up.
And you must send an unequivocal message of support in teaching about this topic. Because if you don't, then our teachers will be too afraid to touch the topic, and our students will continue to be ignorant, or worse, unseen. Are we going to help them or hide from this moment? You are stewards of our schools, and you cannot stick your heads in the sand.
Next, I have Jamal Halawa.
You all, our district leadership, have been awfully damn quiet since October 7th. I can only assume you don't know what's happening in Palestine. Let me update you. The machinery of the Israeli army, funded by our tax dollars,
So I'm going to
has
have
killed
to
over
cut you off
1,300
here
civilians.
because this isn't
They've killed over
under the purview of the Somerville School Committee.
They've killed over 5,000 children. 6,000 people are missing, presumably rotting under the rubble of apartments, schools, and hospitals. Israel has blockaded Gaza and denied water and food to millions for 44 days. People are starving and sick. Israel is arming settlers in the West Bank, where my family lives, and those illegal settlers are driving Palestinians out of their homes. Israel has displaced millions, and its leaders have explicitly called for the ethnic cleansing of my people, the Palestinians. This is a genocide. These are crimes against humanity. And it can be seen in real time on an endless loop on social media. You think the kids aren't watching and wondering? And as they watch, what do they hear from our elected officials? Nothing. Silence. Why? It's too complicated, it's too complex, it's too sensitive an issue. I've reached out to our equity department and asked for some statement from the district, some leadership. I was told the district is working on a statement. When's that going to come out? After every single Palestinian is driven out of their homes? After another 5,000 kids are killed? I've taught here at the high school for 12 years. I've heard the talk from district leadership, but I wonder if you really do want kids to be upstanding citizens and fight injustice when they see it. I know I want my kids to be brave and speak up when they see something that isn't right. So we have to be that example. You, as the leaders, have to give teachers the tools they need to be that example. If you think that kids are not talking about this genocide and talking about it and looking for some help to understand it, you're totally out of touch. They understand that a horrible thing is happening. Anyone with a cell phone can see it. And if you don't condemn it, or at least talk about it, you're adding to the confusion and dismay these kids are dealing with. These kids learn from the adults in charge. And with your silence, you're teaching them to be cowardly and callous and cynical. Thank you.
That concludes public comment. With that, we have the report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. So we're going to start with the first part of the report. So on November 3rd, we mark the end of the first quarter and the start of the second quarter. So most teachers are actually meeting with families right now through parent-teacher conferences during this time of the year. So families who also are entering the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten classes next fall will be able to participate in multiple enrollment events offered through our multilingual enrollment office. I'm grateful for our teaching and administrative staff working diligently to engage our current families in their children's education. Also, I want to celebrate a few things. On November 20th is Transgender Day of Remembrance. November 23rd is Thanksgiving. November 26th is the Day of the Covenant, celebrated by the Baha'i community. And November 27th is Guru Nanak Dev Ji's birthday, celebrated by the Sikh community. The month of November is National Native American Heritage Month. I also wanted to welcome our new Chief of Staff, Amara Nosik. Amara has a very impressive resume. She comes from a policy and advocacy background. She has worked at Boston Children's Hospital recently, and she has an extensive experience with local media in several of her previous positions, and work as an Assistant Attorney General at the Massachusetts Office of Attorney General Maura Healey. She's a graduate of George Washington University Law School, UMass Amherst, and went to Cambridge French and Latin. Amara's first day was November 13. Please join me in welcoming Amara to our Summer Public Schools, Somerville Public Schools. And I'm going to have Chad follow up with the next report.
Through the chair, the Brown School celebrated the opening of their renovated outdoor space on November 14th with a schoolyard ribbon cutting ceremony. The new schoolyard design features a small synthetic turf field, basketball and wall ball courts, graphics for games, and significant surface and subsurface drainage improvements. The space is now ready for students to enjoy. We also want to congratulate the Somerville High School Highlanders. Our athletes received the 2023 MIAA District 5 Sportsmanship Award at the 29th Annual MIAA Sportsmanship Summit at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough on November 9th. 2 staff members and 7 Somerville High School athletes chosen for their strong academic profile and their leadership qualities went to the ceremony. And now I'll talk a little bit about some upcoming events. Don't miss the annual Battle for the Picket Fence football rivalry between Somerville and Cambridge Ringen Latin School. 10 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving Day at Russell Field in Cambridge. Tickets may be purchased on site before the game. And visit any of our pre-K to 8 schools at the first of 3 pre-K to 8 open house events November 29th. No appointment is necessary and all community members are welcome. Each school will offer tours and an opportunity to visit classrooms and to meet staff. Students who are in grades 11 and 12 are invited to take the Seal of Biliteracy assessments. Students who want to earn the prestigious Department of Education Seal of Biliteracy recognition can opt to test in any language they studied at school or one they learned at home. World language staff at the high school can guide any interested students. And at this point, I will turn it over to Jess.
Thank you, through the chair, for upcoming holidays and half days. November 22nd will be a half day and the start of the Thanksgiving break. There will be no school and all district offices will be closed on November 23rd and November 24th. And this meeting's shout outs go to the amazing educators working with the leadership of Jim Hatchie in the CTE Career Technical Education Department at Somerville High School. Our CTE educators continue to find innovative ways to present their curriculum and provide students with projects that work and connect them to the larger Somerville community. So, for example, our CTE carpentry students built little libraries at the Capuano Early Education Center that have already seen a great deal of use. Our CTE personal finance learned about the connection between corporate finance and personal finance during a workshop with a high-level member of an international banking institution. Our CTE culinary arts students catered a Thanksgiving meal at the Somerville Council on Aging with the support of the local Rotary Club. Our CTE cosmetology gives students hands-on training by providing customers traditional cosmetology services in their recently reopened cosmetology clinic. So thank you to the entire CTE staff and all that they're doing for our students. You can learn more about their work on our website. With that, I'll turn it back to Dr. Carmona. Oh, yes, thank you, CTE.
Great, thank you. I'm going to have...
Sorry, we had a question. Dr. Ashman.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you, Dr. Carmona. I just wanted to add to Dr. Boston Davis's comments. I relatively recently got my haircut at cosmetology. It was an absolutely lovely experience, and one of the things that I appreciate, to her point about the multifaceted nature of certain types of training, is that hairstylists have to be therapists in certain ways. And there was a woman there who admitted to the high school student who was helping her that she had recently become homeless. And she was struggling. You know, the student was amazing. The support staff said, we will make sure we take care of you. Like, you know, she wasn't going to pay. You know, they were so kind and supportive and gracious and caring. And it made me very, very proud. So I am thankful that this was brought up. And I look forward to seeing the amazing things that those students do.
Thank you. Dr. Kama?
Thank you for sharing. I know we were supposed to start with our the Winter Hill proximity recommendation, and I think we skipped that. So I'm going to have our great guest, Teresa Rodriguez, join us with a conversation around the proximity zones.
And just so everyone, the committee is aware, we're going to table the early education update until our next meeting.
Hi, good evening. As the enrollment director for the district, I'm happy to come today to be able to share that we're interested. Sorry, my apologies. Hi, good evening. My name is Teresa Rodriguez. I'm the enrollment director for the district. Happy to be here and wanted to share our recommendation that we would make to you in regards to Winter Hill proximity for newly enrolling kindergarten students that will come for the fall of 2024. We'll open our enrollment period this January. In addition to the tours and open houses, we've been having information sessions, as Dr. Comer said, and we'll continue to have those at Head Start and other areas. So we wanted to see to present for discussion tonight the opportunity to make some small adjustments that we feel like might be helpful and supportive to families in regards to the Winter Hill school location and where families are located. So I'm not sure exactly if I should read the section of our proposal or if there's questions. I think everybody may have gotten some of the data, just presenting the lottery information from the previous last 2 years, just so we could see how this would work for families and what the information is that we'd want to share. I want to just thank, it's a parent who brought this to us originally way back in June when we were in the throes of figuring out where the Winter Hill School would be. So it was a parent who said, I am very concerned for current families that they would be able to, I have copies of this, sorry if I should give this out, okay. The parents said, I'm concerned and want to be supportive for families that are moving to Winter Hill. I am actually not in that position, and I will be a new parent for the following school year. So I just want to acknowledge it was a parent that brought this concern to us, and we wanted to be able to be informative, but also make a recommendation to you in regards to the proximity zone for rising kindergarten families.
Just to add to the context, it was during one of our community meetings also that the question came up as to, are we going to look at that just to provide more support to the families that are at the edgerly that were supposed to be at the Winter Hill. So.
Perfect, so a wide-standing family interest. So based on the enrollment data from the last year, for school year 23-24, we are going to anticipate that the enrollment numbers will remain fairly stable, and a change to the proximity zone at Winter Hill is not absolutely required. However, due to the temporary relocation of the Winter Hill Community Innovation School to the easternmost section of the city, the enrollment office is proposing a temporary proximity zone change to accommodate families that live west of the Sycamore Street location. We recommend that for families registering for kindergarten that are living west of Sycamore Street, they're offered the opportunity to choose a different proximity zone, Brown, Healy, or Kennedy School. Again, I don't think that this is something that necessarily will make a large change, as the majority of families who apply for kindergarten in the first round do get their school of choice. And so just want to make sure for families that we are hearing their concern and that we can be accommodating for this time period to this area of the city.
Through the chair, I think the good news is that 99 or 98% of our families get access to their first choice regardless of the proximity. And so I think that that's something to celebrate, that for the most part, on a daily basis, we respond to parents' first choice. So that's the good news. And I think that the thing that we're mentioning, since it's part of the school committee kind of voice, is we're bringing somewhat of a suggestion, but it's not a voting. It's not a vote. Is that right? So we're just kind of sharing a possible scenario.
All right, with that, we will take questions. I have Dr. Phillips and then Ms. Dion.
Thank you for this great memo, and thank you for being responsive to parent needs and concerns. I'm just wondering if we have a sense of like how many kids might be choosing to go to Healy, Kennedy, or Brown, and what impact that might have on kindergarten sizes there.
Luckily, we have been able to have capacity at each of those schools. So we had 3 families that went on the wait list last year, but were able to get their first choice by the beginning of the school year. So I'm hopeful that we're not causing a bottleneck anywhere else. I don't think that will happen, given that people, for the most part, got what they wanted last year, but providing this proximity assurance allows people that they can know. I think there's a fair amount of anxiety prior to that lottery, which we've moved up to try to make sure it's giving people the opportunity to apply for community schools and get all the information they'd need reasonable time period in the spring. So I think we will not be creating, that's why we kind of look back a few years to make sure we're not over-enrolling at the Healy, over-enrolling at Brown, over-enrolling at Kennedy. So I'm hopeful that there won't be any difficulty given the kind of history of the past 2 years and what people's choices have been.
Ms. Dion?
I'm just wondering, so it says that students have largely gotten their school of choice regardless of proximity. So what difference does the proximity school make? Is it just they're given, like kids within the proximity zone are given preference over other students who are not in the proximity zone? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parrish?
I know that I've communicated a bit with Dr. Rodriguez and with Dr. Carmona about whether similar considerations are being made for Brown School 5th graders who have to choose a school for 6th grade. And I just want to encourage everyone to just keep that in mind because, you know, it may impact a certain number this year and the geography may be a certain way this year, but each year it's going to impact, you know, a similar number of families. And since we don't anticipate this being resolved next year or the following year, I think that if a clear policy can be established rather than considering each year on a one-off basis and each family on a one-off basis, I think it's going to, I hope it would be simpler for the enrollment office and for families alike.
Dr. Ackman?
Thank you. Through the chair, and maybe this is jumping the gun, but can you talk to us about communication of this change?
Yes, I think assuming that this is something we could move forward with, we will, at each of the opportunities that we've had information sessions, we have a number of families that have kind of signed up for us. We can provide that, also push it out through all the channels that we're doing our current outreach. So I think that not just means kind of our social media, but also our lists of schools, and then we're also able to share it at open houses. So we've been sharing resources with the family liaisons who've been great. They help in conjunction with the principal to prepare for those school open houses, but I think having that as part of the toolkit that we offer them will be able to give families some assurance in regards to the lottery for the fall.
The private part, my understanding is we still have private partnerships with a number of preschools. Do you also intending to let them know so that they can let our incoming families?
Yeah, so Director Baylor, I think, has been able to have a large group that meets on a regular monthly basis, also through the City of Somerville, through the Summer Promise Program. So I know they have newsletters, and they've been helpful to us about getting the word out. That's how we're going to things like Head Start, but also other places just where we could be able to be available for families. So absolutely, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I think we can let you go this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Carmona?
Great. So I have a Winter Hill Innovation School update, so I'm going to switch to that part of the presentation. So, as you know, we met a week ago with the community at the Winter Hill community, and we hosted a community meeting. So prior to that meeting, the city published all the reports from the assessments and abatements conducted over the summer and early fall at both the Sycamore Street building and Edgerly. And during our community meeting, Rich Reich, who is the director of the Infrastructure and Management Department, he reviewed the findings and put the results into perspective to clarify a lot of the technical details that were included in those reports. And as I previously shared with this committee, well, we are happy that the reports show that there are no structural concerns at Sycamore. We have made the decision not to reoccupy that site because we need to focus our effort, energy, and resources and finances on our new or fully renovated school that is coming in the future. At the community meeting, we also heard from the city auditor, Ed Bean, who provided a high-level overview of financing for potential building project, in which he insisted that, or highlighted the importance of going through the MSBA process to help offset the high costs associated with building projects in today's economy. Basically, we're talking about double the cost. The interest rates are pretty much double. Cost of supplies, as well as the inflation has had a significant impact, and we're estimating that probably around the same cost of the high school will be the cost that we will be incurring in building the new facility. So that's close to $250 million. That's quite a challenge. And so to accomplish our goals and build a new school as quickly as possible, it will be critical for us to seek a debt exclusion vote once we have a schematic design and specific cost estimates. Right now, we anticipate that we will know whether MSBA will advance our project by mid-December, which will inform our immediate next steps. So where do we go from here? So we have already scheduled another meeting. It's a broader community meeting for Tuesday, December 5th. At the meeting, the city will present the K-8 capacity study that we have. We will formally kick off a community engagement process to inform both short and long-term next steps around how we need to address the challenges we face in our facilities district-wide. So in moving forward with a new school building project, there are factors that we need to consider when selecting our preferred option, including how we can meet the immediate needs of the Winter Hill School, while also taking into account the needs of other facilities to maximize our return on investment. So the presentation on the 5th will include possible options for a new Winter Hill School, ranging from building a new Winter Hill School at the Sycamore Street side, rebuilding on site, expanding to include some of the Brown School population, to building a new school facility off-site that combines multiple school communities in geographic proximity. So please be assured that every decision that we make will prioritize the well-being and success of our students and staff, keeping the heart of our community at the center. That's the Winter Hill report.
Quick question, the December 5th meeting is being run by the city, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I will plan to be there, and obviously other school committee members are welcome to be, but it is not our meeting. So I'm just letting everyone know. Dr. Phillips.
I really appreciate the superintendent's collaboration with the city and work to keep us up to date on what's happening with the Winter Hill School. I'd like to recommend that we move the updates about the Winter Hill School out of the district report to unfinished business, because from where I sit, it seems like the city is driving this process, right? They were the main speakers at the last meeting. They're running this next meeting. When we treat it like it's ours, like it's not actually ours. Like, we're trying to collaborate with the city as best we can, but fundamentally, it feels to me like very much a city-run process, and I think moving it out of the district report to unfinished business might help, and as much as we can get the city to present for themselves where they are, I think that would be really helpful.
So tell me again, I am trying to understand the difference between one or the other. So you're saying that
I think she's just talking about where it lives on the agenda.
Oh, in the
Our meeting.
agenda. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, it's minor. It just, to me, it communicates who's owning this project a little bit.
So
And
that's
we
what
are a
she's talking
partner, I think, but it feels to me like the city's really the owner here, doing the lifting and the thinking, and it's their timeline.
Through the chair. So, yes, it might feel like that. So usually every decision and conversations that we have had about the community meeting, the group that is going to actually run the engagement process, those have been things that have been determined by the district. So a huge part of the finances are embedded with what the city does. I would say that's a huge part of the reality. But I think that's in terms of how that process is managed, we are fully involved in that process. So, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Ms. Baton?
Thank you, through you, Chair Krupchen. I think this is a little bit related to what Dr. Phillips was alluding to. First, who's hosting the meeting on the 5th? Is that a co-hosted between the city and the district? Or is that a city meeting with the district and support? You mentioned someone running the engagement process. Who makes the decision about who runs that process? And lastly, they're going to share some options. I think one of the things that's confusing to me, I mean, I understand at some point a decision has to be made, but I don't think we've shared, and maybe this is going to be part of the meeting on the 5th, how that process is going to go. Who makes that decision? When do they make that decision? How do community members have a say in that process? So they're going to put all these items out on the table, and which I think is great from my perspective, but it may cause a lot of anxiety in the community when they don't necessarily understand what are the next steps and how will it. And you may have all these answers on the 5th, but I just wanted to articulate that.
Through the chair, yeah. So the meeting that is happening on the 5th was scheduled at the high school in person. I know families asked me if we could have a different format, and so we decided to go with an in-person version of the meeting. So that was based on the feedback from the families. As far as what is the next step, I think that is one conversation that will be that we're going to engage on the 5th, and we will be outlining what are the next steps. The version of what the Sycamore is going to look like into the different options that we have, that has been basically projected through the K-8 planning process. So that's basically it, but we don't have any preference in terms of like what is the option that, I mean, I think it's going to be a matter of when we decide the criteria collectively, that's going to be the driver of the decision, knowing that money is a big driver as well. So, but again, I think the system on how that decision process making happens will be discussed at that meeting.
Ms. Baton?
Thank you, through you, Chair Krupchen. So now I have a couple sub-questions, so I apologize. One is, it's going to be an in-person meeting. Is it also going to be streamed in any way or recorded so that people who can't attend in person will have an opportunity to watch it either live or after the fact?
I don't remember what we said about the virtual component. I'm assuming yes, but I won't be able. I'll have to confirm on that.
I would highly recommend it. So,
Yeah.
because I'm sure there's lots of people who want to be part of that who can't attend. Although I'm thrilled that we can do something in person. And then, when you say decide on the criteria collectively, what does that mean? And again, the question is, who makes this decision? Is it the school committee that decides which choice we have? Is it we have a big open process and we have public comment, like a forum, whatever those are called, I'm spacing it, where people come in and give their input? Are we going to have some kind of discussion process, or is this something that's going to be decided in collaboration with the community engagement provider?
So I think the community engagement is engaging the community and the gathering the feedback of all the different constituents that we have. as you know, the MSBA will require that we also have a committee that actually runs that process. So that's a community process that is established by MSBA. As far as the criteria of decision, I think that, as I said, there is a financial component there that is a strong one. I mean, this is a matter of numbers, is that right? The second component of that is what the committee will have access to make a decision based on the criteria that is selected. I think after money is determined and that's out of the way, I think the second component of that would be the decision that the committee will be utilizing as a criteria for decision. I don't have that in front of me, or I don't, I can, but that was the conversation that we have, is that we want to make sure that we take the input from the community, and then at some point, the committee that is selected will be making that decision. I'm quite sure that we have a blueprint for that based on what happened at the high school, so some of you probably have better history than I do around that. So it's a very similar process than that.
Hearing was the word you were looking for. A public hearing. And so just to follow up on Ms. Paton's first question, who is actually facilitating the meeting on December 5th?
So the same way we facilitated the last meeting was Jackie probably will be doing the facilitation.
So someone from our district?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the same. We facilitated the last meeting also was through Jackie at the last meeting that we have, the community meeting.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, Ms. Pichon?
Sorry, and I know I had lots of embedded questions through the chair. One of the ones I had asked is who is making the decision on who to hire for the engagement process, the community engagement process?
So we basically, but I checked with the different folks who know about the people we have worked in the past. So Jeff had a recommendation, Jackie had a recommendation, and the city already started the conversation with the same person that we were identifying as a viable, reliable source. So it's a combination of both the input that we gather from our team as well as the city.
To be clear, so the city and the district are doing this in concert and they're choosing someone together as opposed to the city choosing someone or the district choosing someone?
That's correct, yeah. So that came from a conversation we had during the community process. I think I got some feedback as to making sure that we use a neutral party to kind of convey our efforts that this is a mutual process. And so that was the impetus for having someone who could actually do the work for us and to take that kind of a third-party, unbiased communication process.
Ms. Paton?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Corruption. Thank you for that. This is a question that I probably don't have completely clear, but my understanding with MSBA, we submitted 2 different applications, one for the Brown and one for the Winter Hill Community Innovation School, which is how we do it. And we are kind of in this process of doing some type of study, it sounds like, to look at options that include renovation, include rebuilding, include some level of combined student population, but I don't know what that's going to look like. And this is, what I understand, is something called a study, and that's what MSBA calls it, as a study. And are we, as a city or district, in communication with the MSBA that's saying that we're doing this work and doing this type of study?
So the MSBA will be. They saw the preliminary work that we did around the study. It wasn't completed by the time we shared with them. And so out of that, they actually took some information and will be submitting a budget for the proposal on the December 15 meeting. But that was based on their visit. That was based on what we shared with them, on their understanding of the density of the city, and also the need that we have based on their visits as well. So they have been informed by usually what we have presented and by their own perception of what's happening in our city. Was that the question, or what was informing the question?
Yeah, the specific was that they understand that we're doing studies that look at the district at large and looks at particular populations for Brown and Winter Hill Community Innovation School, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, so they're all on board with that. And just the last question, is that okay? I don't know if anybody else is, all right. I don't want to like interrupt if other people have their hands up. The decision that hopefully will be made through this process will be a decision about the district, not just a decision about how to resolve the Winter Hill Community Innovation School, or could it just be a decision to renovate or rebuild the Winter Hill? Do you understand my question? Like, will the decision include what is going to happen with the Brown?
So the decision, as we stated in actually, one of the things that I mentioned earlier on was that the solution for the multiple options will be including Winter Hill by itself, Winter Hill and Brown, Winter Hill in a different location, Winter Hill and renovations at the site. There are multiple challenges at building the same site. It's MSBA and the architects have said is that it wouldn't support going up, so it requires changes that are probably significant. And the little that I know in terms of the construction of one building at a location of the Sycamore and one at the Brown location is going to be very costly. And so my understanding is that probably the easiest thing, or as far as economical viable option, is a combination. But again, that will be one of the options that will be presented as to the multiple options that we have. Just to have a quick correction, I said 12:15 will be recorded, and also that Melissa Woods is facilitating the actual presentation.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, does that complete your report?
That is the end of the report.
Okay, so that brings us to new business. There's a personnel report. I'm sorry it did not end up in your packet, but we will put it in your packet. And if there are any highlights, Dr. Carmona, you want to share?
Yes, I want to highlight a few things. We have reasons for celebration. So we have a senior clerk at AFAS, which was promoted to one of our paraprofessionals. Also, a paraprofessional at AFS was hired for a vacant teacher position, which promotes our goal of promoting paraprofessionals to teaching positions.
Okay.
A lead cafeteria worker was promoted to a manager at the ESCS, and we also filled our payroll coordination position. I also want to highlight some retirements. Hug Wallace at the high school in automotive. For 16 years, he has been with us, and he is retiring. Robert Pupolo at the high school in automotive as well, 28 years and at his job. And Kenneth Black, which is a district-wide specialist education in the special education department. He has been an evaluator for 21 years. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Amara is our new hire for a chief of staff. So we congratulate everyone who is retiring, and also very proud of making sure that we promote from within to elevate their position as well as their pathways to career choices.
That is great news. Thank you. Ms. Barish.
I join with you to congratulate those folks who are retiring, but I am concerned that 2 automotive instructors are retiring at the same time. I hope they're retiring effective in June. And do we have some prospects for filling those positions? Because I know it's been really hard to fill CTE positions in recent past.
Through the chair, yes, we approve. We lost 2. We hired someone in automotive that was a very promising hire. So we approved that hire last week. So hopefully that will sail through, and we will have a replacement. You're right, we still have missing one, and it's not easy to find. So if anyone knows of any good leads, please let us know.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we are going to table the Children's Cabinet update till our next meeting. So that brings us to the ratification of the September 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2026 MOU with the Somerville Cafeteria Employees Union. I will entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the chair to ratify the September 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2026 MOU with the Somerville Cafeteria Employees Union, AFSCME.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Dion, seconded by Dr. Ackman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to our building committee report, which I believe we're going to table till next time. Yes, okay. That brings us to acceptance of grants. I will entertain a motion. Dr. Ackman.
I move to accept all federal entitlement and continuation grants and state continuation grants awarded to the Somerville Public Schools, including from the state high school equivalency test centers, a grant to allocation to scale to conduct high school equivalency testing in the amount of $5,544, a federal IDEA grant in the amount of $1,820,740, and a private grant supporting unified basketball at the Somerville High School for $2,000.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Ms. Patone. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the report of subcommittees. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the finance subcommittee meeting reports from October 18th and November 15th of 2023.
I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Dr. Phillips. Is there any questions or discussion on those reports? Yes, Dr. Phillips.
I just want to flag for you all something in the November report. The city is planning to, or may already have, submitted a supplemental appropriation for some unbudgeted expenses from the current year. So that's related to the Winter Hill and Tab building moves, the fall network disruption, and kind of reimbursing us for some accounting moves related to summer meals. So that's almost 0.75%. 0.75% of our budget will be coming to us in a supplemental appropriation.
Great, thank you. So I have a motion to approve, to accept the reports. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? And then I also need a motion to approve the bill rolls for October and November. So I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Dr. Phillips, to approve the October and November bill rolls. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, that brings us to unfinished business, the second reading of a policy. Ms. Barish, do you want to just give us the quick update?
No changes. This is, as you remember, the last time we met, Principal Alicia Kirsten from the high school came and talked about the extended campus lunch policy. They would like to remove the requirement for specific parental approval. There would not be specific boundaries to where students can go. All school rules would apply during lunchtime, even if students are outside the building. I think those are the highlights. There was some discussion about whether this should be a policy or just be in the handbook, but because we have approved a policy about it in the past, we need to amend that policy.
Great. So I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve file JHCA, extended campus lunch policy.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Ms. Dion. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Dr. Ackman.
I'm curious, once this goes into place, I would love to get some sense of, and if we have it, because I know the high school is, open still relatively recently post-pandemic, but if this is a drop in how many meals we are serving, like, I would love to have some sense, what it sort of means for our food budget. I know we have to account for those things, like, I guess I'm asking for a report like 2 years from now or something, but, something to keep in mind. Like, I'm just sort of curious what it will mean for, what lunch looks like. And one of the things I know we have the ability to look at is sort of how much food we are serving. So I will be curious about that as a result of this policy.
Sure. Through the chair, we can get that data for you from the time that this becomes official to see if there's any drop in food distribution. Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? You are in favor of this motion? Okay. All right then. Motion carries. That brings us to item from committee members. Does anyone have anything? Ms. Barish.
I wasn't expecting to share this, but it just occurred to me when I was at MASC, there was a session about standardized, I'm going to say it wrong, essentially a standardized rubric for evaluating a district's athletics program. And the first thing is safety, but I mean, it goes through all these sort of things that make an excellent athletic program excellent. And it's based on years of research, and there's a feedback period now, and they're hoping to come out with these standards. I think it's going to be 6 specific standards in June. So I just wanted to encourage the district to keep an eye out for that. I will try and track down the contact and share it with the superintendent, but it sounded really promising to me. And I think that we've got some great athletics. We have a great athletics program in our district now, but I think that there's always room for improvement. And there's a lot of work being done now around positive coaching and around athlete safety and athlete physical and mental health that I think it can be hard to keep up with as these things develop. And I honestly don't know where our district is on those things, but I think any support could be positive.
And I just wanted to say, it's not on the agenda for tonight, but in response to our public comment earlier, I would love to hear at a future meeting how our district is supporting educators in talking about difficult topics. Any other items from board members?
Just can I respond to through the chair? I do welcome that question, and I feel that it will help shed some light in terms of the work that is happening at the high school. I know that Alicia has worked with the chair, the department chair, history department chair, to create and curate some information around how to address the conflicts and the complexity of the subjects that we're talking about. I know that they put something out. They got some feedback. They're having a meeting on Monday to discuss the feedback from other members of the community and educators. And then on Tuesday, they will be meeting with the students also to gather feedback on what they created and put out there for discussion. But I know in my conversations with her, the complexities of creating empathy, understanding the complexities of the challenge that we're dealing with, and also making sure that kids are courageous in their conversations is something that they're striving for. So I welcome the ask, and I think that for the next time we'll be able to share something more tangible.
Ms. Barish?
I just want to make sure that our K-8 educators can benefit from that work as well, whether it's sharing via email or some professional development time or something, just because even though maybe students are most engaged at the high school level, they certainly are aware of these issues at the elementary level, and I'm sure the educators are dealing with some challenging questions and worries and feelings at that level as well. So I just don't want them to be lost, even though I know a lot of work is being done at the high school level. Thank you.
Are there any other items from board members? Seeing none, that brings us to condolences. Dr. Phillips, no condolences. Well, that might be a new record for our speediness of meetings.
Are you adjourning?
Yes, we are now adjourned.